Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Sophia Grant,
And I am Judy Grant, licensed marriage and family therapist.
and welcome to Two Soka, two sisters of a certain age.
Conversations with a therapist and a doctor. So good to be back with all of you today. I'm happy to, share this next episode with you. But let's just do a quick check-in, Candy, before we get started. So, you made a discovery here in my yard today. What was that?
Yeah, Judy just moved to a new house, and as I'm scoping out the backyard, she has a very prolific pomegranate tree and then like a crabapple tree. And then I'm like, wait a second. I think this is a mango. So I use my iPhone, take a picture, and do the info. And Judy has a mango tree growing in her backyard. Now, the implications of this are vast. Why?
Oh, first of all, if you could see my sister's eyes bugging out of her head right now, it's crazy.
I am so jealous.
Oh my gosh, but this is super exciting for us. I'm going to take you way back to, when we were growing up and how our father would try to plant every possible Jamaican fruit item in our backyard in California.
In Beverly Hills, I think we were the only house that had susumba, mango, guava, sugar cane.
Yes.
Sugar cane.
Yes, in our backyard. So this is truly a fabulous discovery because we have so many memories of sitting on a porch, California, Jamaica, eating the mango, tearing the skin off with your teeth, having the mango juice drip down your arm.
Down your arm and then fall off your elbow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the mango all over your face when you were done consuming this deliciousness. And then on the hunt for some dental floss to get all the little hairs
Pieces
out
of the teeth. Yes, yes. So I'm hoping that we can sit around on the porch and have mango juice dripping off our elbows sometime in the near future.
Yes, me too. So that was a great find for us today.
All right, so we are going to talk about dating today.
Whoa.
I know Judy's divorced. Well, she's remarried. I was divorced. And, it's really hard to date as a 40-something-year-old. My marriage dissolved when I was, I think, 42, 43. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to him, I cannot believe you're leaving me. And now I have to date and bring people home and all of that stuff. But I quickly found that this dating pool, dating whole world is what I like to call a shit show. All right, let's just be honest. I have some, thankfully not disaster stories, but I do have some funny stories.
You do. Candy absolutely does. And I don't have those funny stories, but I can certainly share my experience between, my divorce and my remarriage and what that was like for me. Also, what it was like when Rick and I started dating and how that evolved into a marriage, and the parameters that I put around that in order to not only protect myself, but my children from him and anybody else that came into our lives. I had to be very cognizant of who's coming into my home with my children.
Exactly. I think when I got divorced, it's such a blow to your ego and to how you perceive yourself. And you don't ever think you're going to have to date after you get married. And so I was really kind of searching for external validation to hear and to feel like I was attractive, I was desirable. And so I, entered into the dating pool, but I really couldn't do it because I was, with any kind of gusto because I was still raising 3 kids. I didn't want to bring any and everybody around the kids. And so my efforts were more kind of clandestine, you know.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm online and, the kids get on the computer. Mommy, what's that? And, kids all up in your business. So, I tried the dating, but I really haven't had much success. I've gotten a lot of comedy gold,
Oh, yes.
but not anything that is going to be lasting.
Right, right. And, for me, it is hard. It's especially coming out of my, that sort of emotionally abusive relationship where somebody's constantly putting you down and making you feel less than, and having the wherewithal to say, no, I'm worthy, I'm desirable, I'm interesting, and I know that I have something to bring to the table to another partner. How you go about that, though, in this day and age can be kind of tricky. I mean, I grew up in that organic sort of way where you meet when you're out, you're at a party, you're at a restaurant, whatever it is, you're at a club. But dating is not like that today, and it's so much of it is done online.
Exactly. And, I learned pretty quickly what to search for in online profiles. Like if you have 5 kids, but you've never been married, I think that's a red flag. You know, if, for instance, you have a picture of yourself with a snake around your neck,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that that's
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 a
a
deal
red
breaker.
flag. And some people put like the most like terrifying pictures online of themselves, and I don't know if it's from kind of a lack of confidence, but just like people that you think are scary. So, typically for me, when I would do those online profiles or I would look for some potential person, I'd like them, of course, to be attractive within my age group. And I would like somebody to have a career and be, I want somebody as educated as but that is kind of hard to achieve. So then you say college graduate, you don't have to have a master's or a doctorate. And, have some type of interesting profile. Like if you write a bunch of poetry, oh yeah, that's cool, but tell me about yourself. One guy, he had on his profile that he had a master's. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So when I finally spoke with him and I said, oh, what's your master's in? He said he was a master barber.
which I'm sure is a real thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a real thing, but I don't even think he realized that that was not a master's.
Right, right.
Yeah, so there was that guy. Let me see. I went out with on one date with a guy who was he seemed like he was really nice. He'd been in the at his job for 22 years. So I said, okay, he's stable. I don't think he was ever married. So I was like, okay, let's give this a try. And I was talking to him, and he had these big green earrings in his ears and a green ring. And I think it was in August. And I said, oh, you're a Leo. He said, how did you know? I said, well, because you're wearing peridot, and that's also my birthstone. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then we're talking, and he has the Bluetooth, headphone in his ear, and that's like a pet peeve of mine. So I said, so like if the phone rings, do you hear it in your ear? And he's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel like such a jerk. I didn't even realize I had it in. And he took it off and he put it on the table, and it was like covered in wax. It was one of the
Oh.
it was one of the most disgusting things I had ever experienced. And then, as I'm talking to him, tell me about your job. He said he, was there for 22 years, and he was still in the same entry level position that he started off with. So I'm like, oh gosh. And then he was to tell me about you, and I talk about travel. And he said something like, well, my bucket list, yeah, my bucket list is to go to Miami. And, good for you, but bucket list to me is kind of like a once in a lifetime trip. And, it became clear that he wasn't the guy for me. But I had arranged with a friend to call me, like an emergency call, like an emergency breakthrough in the date. And so I was actually on call. I told him I was on call at the beginning of the date. And my friend called, and she called late. And I said, and I had changed her name in my phone to hospital. So when she called, I told the guy I had to take it. And she's like, oh my gosh, my toilet flooded. I'm so sorry. And as she was apologizing for not calling earlier, I said in the phone, third degree burns? What? What? And I asked the guy for a pen.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I started writing on a napkin. What floor? And okay, yes, I'll be there. And that was my excuse to leave the date. And I thought he would let me go, but I think he was a nice guy, but just not for me. And then he walked me to my car, and then he hugged me, and he did the like side to side sway thing, which was really bizarre. And yeah, he tried to contact me, but then I told him, nah, I don't think this is
gonna
for
work.
me. Yeah.
So we recognize that everybody has their own set of standards. What is a deal breaker for one might not be for another. Like the snake thing, that's a total deal breaker for us.
Any reptiles, really.
But so just because we might be sharing these stories about our experiences, if these things work for you, more power to you.
Exactly.
But we just thought we would share what's going on, what happened with us. So, it's hard to think of bringing someone into your home when you've got young children.
Yeah.
And when Rick and I met, for months, truly for months, he would come over to my home after the children were asleep, and I would sit in his car with my eyes focused on the house and the windows of the kids' bedrooms and talk to him there, because I was not yet ready to bring him into the house to meet my children. He needed to be worthy of my children's attention and exposure to them. So, yeah, we sat at the curb for a long time.
But you also had the benefit of the kids going to their fathers every other week.
This is true. So I definitely did have some of my time because I shared and currently do share custody of my children with their father. So that absolutely helped me to find time for me just to meet people and to be out and about. But really, when Rick and I met, that was kind of the end of it. It was, he and I met, and I was in. We were married 2 years later.
Wow. Now, it hasn't been smooth sailing for me. And, the thing is, at this age that I'm at, 56, I really don't have a desire to be married again. Maybe 10 years ago, I would say, oh, this is nice. But at 56, I am doing really well for myself. I am independent, and I really don't want anybody to ask me, like, have you washed my pants yet? Or folding some other person's laundry, or I'm now selfish, and I probably wouldn't be a good partner. When I was married, I did all of those things, but yeah, I don't feel the need for that. Yeah, it would be nice to have a dude, like a smart dude, to talk about theater and art and books and,
And to go out to the
travel.
movies and
But
travel.
to be living in my house and like, my fear is that like this dude has his 37-year-old son just coming out of rehab and needs a place to stay. And like wants to stay at my big empty house. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah. Okay. So her imagination is running wild.
Right. But I mean, it definitely is feasible.
But you no, you're right. You're right, and I understand that. It is nice to be able to share your life with someone in the capacity that you choose for it to be. Rick and I got married. You could meet Jim next week and have a relationship, but not ever feel the need to cohabitate or be married.
Right. So, let me tell you about the last date I went on. This last date I went on, it was 4 years ago. And this guy, he was educated. After speaking on the phone, we knew a lot of people in common. And so we agreed to a date. And when we finally did meet up, we sat. He was an attractive guy, but like in person, he just kind of like, I wasn't really attracted to him. And he seemed distracted during the date. So when I got home, and I saved this text from August 1st, 2018, and I'm reading from it now. First of all, I was wearing a dress, and it just had a teeny amount of cleavage. Like if you lean over, you see the little split, but it wasn't exposed or anything like that. So I texted him, and I said, so what did you think? Too much cleavage? And he's like, no. Not enough. The twins look yummy.
Oh.
Then he says, so many fun ideas pop into a man's mind when he finally meets a woman bigger than a B cup. You likely saw me looking there a lot. I'm sorry, but likely I will do that again. And I was like, what? Not all men think about breasts. And then he said, what you did give me was 2/3 of a semi-permanent erection.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. 2/3 of a semi-permanent erection just sitting there. Damn. And then he goes on to say, all men think about big, nice breasts, not so much the average to small ones. My first wife had mosquito bites at most. And then he goes on to some more lewd things.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I haven't been on another date since.
And why that is worthy of saving for forever. Well, now it's on our podcast.
Oh my gosh, yes. So
Oh my gosh,
I
that's hysterical.
I blocked him. This man is a freak. This man is a freak. And that sometimes like
First time you're meeting
the
him.
first time I'm meeting him, and then he criticized me for like hugging him goodbye. I don't know what he expected me to do.
Right.
Yeah, like he said hugging him goodbye was very impersonal. I'm sorry, but we don't know each other.
Right. What the thing is, when you think of, and I have only heard of the Tinder and the Bumble, and I don't even know what else is out there. A lot of those sites are for hookups.
Right.
They're not looking for serious relationships.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful of, if you're using an online site, what is the intention of that site?
Right.
I see the commercials for Hinge, which I totally dig, because they said
made to be removed or
yes,
something. Yeah.
this app is made to be deleted. And I love that idea, because it's going into it saying, we want you to find your forever with this person.
Right.
This is not about hooking up and dating. every night of the week with different people.
Right, right. And part of my frustration early on when I was divorced, newly divorced, is that I would say, "Oh, your standards are too high. You're not matching with very many people, and maybe you just like, okay, who if he seems nice, just go out." And one time, this guy, he was attractive. He seemed nice. We spoke a couple times. He's like, "I want to take you out," and he told me that he'd moved to the state for work, and so we decided to meet at a Starbucks. And then I walk in and then I see him. He comes in and he looks up and around at the Starbucks and he says, "This is nice." And I'm thinking, this is Starbucks.
This is your standard?
Right. So then we get to eating and I said, "So how's your job?" He said, "Job? I ain't got no job."
I ain't got no.
I ain't got no job. I said, "I thought you moved here for work." He said, "I came to look for work."
Oh.
Yeah, and he was staying with his brother and he was wearing his brother's clothes and I couldn't understand why his clothes were so big. So that was before I ordered anything. And then I said, "Well, let me just order a tea bag." So I got some Earl Grey tea. And I think it was like $1.60 or something. And then he said, "What type of work do you do?" And I said, "I'm in administration." He said, "I could tell. You're the complete package. Baby, you're the complete package." And then he wanted to go out with me again.
Hold on. So you opted not to tell him that you're a physician.
Right, because if Starbucks was really nice, I think his head would explode if he found out I was a physician. So, and he was a nice guy, but just not for me. And he asked me out again, and I said, "No, I don't think so." And he thanked me for being honest. But, I have a friend, anytime I'm with her and we enter any type of new place, she looks up and around and she says, "This is nice."
Oh my gosh.
So that was when I tried to kind of loosen up my requirements, and I'm grateful for the experience because I mean it's funny, but another one I think of is a guy. I never met this guy. But, we were talking on the phone kind of back and forth and it was, pretty routine. And then he kind of stopped calling and I was like, "Okay, whatever." And then he reached out and then he told me that, he hasn't ghosted me. He didn't forget about me, but he can't pursue a relationship with anybody who is as religious as I am. And I wasn't trying to proselytize. He would ask me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to church," or "I'm coming from church," or something like that. So when he told me I was too religious, I just responded with, "I'll pray for you." So that was the last I heard of him. But, it's really tricky. And thankfully, I'm the type of person who, like, I don't need a man to feel validated.
Right.
I'm not a person so used to being with somebody that I can't imagine my life without somebody. So, like, I have kind of quietly realized that I'm going to make happiness for myself. How do I do that? Well, I hang out with friends. I start a podcast.
You travel.
I travel. I go to be with my kids. I fix up my house. I break out the sewing machine and
She makes jerk chicken.
yeah, and I have a sense of contentment that I did not have when I was seeking external male validation.
And as you say that, I'm thinking that I met my ex-husband when I was 19 years old. It's before I even knew who I was. I mean, come on, who knows who they are at 19? But when that ended and I was on my own with my children for that period between the ex and now Rick, I was happy with who I was. then and now. And I felt independent, like I can do this, I can raise my children, I can, have a good time with my friends and family, I can go to Venice Beach and rollerblade on the boardwalk by myself on a Saturday and have a great time doing so. So it allowed me an opportunity to spend some time with myself and to learn that I like my own company. I would take myself out to dinner, like, oh, I'm going to go to this nice restaurant and just sit and enjoy the meal and my own company. And I think that's really important to be able to do.
I don't think I can do that.
Oh, it's nice. It feels freeing when you're able to do that. And I think when I found that in myself, and then when Rick and I met, it wasn't that I needed a man. I needed him. No, it was because I wanted him in my life.
Right.
So that was a very, very different place to be than I think I was when I was 19.
Right. And a lot of men want to be needed. They want to be able to say, well, I provide or I do this. And the reality is that anybody who comes into my life will not be needed. He'll be wanted. And he has to be pretty secure to just kind of know that he isn't providing for me. He isn't giving me something that I'm missing, but he is a person I choose to be with.
And I think that makes a huge difference in the dynamic of the relationship because they know you don't need them. They don't need you, but you choose to come together.
Right, right.
And I mean, I think that's a brilliant thing when you're able to find that. So, I've had, going back to the whole idea of dating, I've had friends, and I have a number of friends that are younger than me. I think it's because I came into my career much later than they did. So when we met, they were still 20 something and I'm 40 something. But I watched them on their dating journey.
What's that like?
Okay, so for the 20 somethings, the early 30 somethings, I see them using apps. I see them being frustrated with the apps.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you. I think this is something that people feel regardless of their age. And I think everybody wishes that it could just happen organically, like before the apps. But this is the world that we live in. So you kind of think, well, let me try and see what happens. Back in the day when I first became single and I thought, how in the world am I going to meet people? I found an app called Plenty of Fish.
Oh,
and
God.
I didn't know.
Plenty of dead fish.
Well, I didn't know anything about it, right? Just somebody mentioned it. So I would go on. I'm like, oh, what's this about? Only to find out that it doesn't have the greatest reputation and it's more of like a hookup site.
Yeah,
I'm
that's the gateway app. It's like the gateway to dating hell.
So I quickly was off of that. But I think I just don't think it's as easy. And
No.
also the thing is with our social media platforms, it's not like you meet someone, oh, can I have your phone number? It's, can I get your Insta? Let me go on your Insta now and look at all of your pictures, all of your interactions, and then decide if I think you're cool enough or hot enough to hang out with. And then maybe I'll DM you. And it's like it's a whole other language.
Right, right. But the thing about these social media things is it creates this false sense of intimacy. Like
True.
if you see me on my vacations and see me in a bathing suit or see me with my friends, you feel like but they're a stranger.
Yeah.
They're a stranger, and you have to treat people as strangers, not let people in your home.
Right. Right. No, it's so true that level of intimacy or the time where you would spend 4 hours on the phone with somebody, just
Yeah.
talking and laughing and getting to know them. That's not happening so much.
Right. And also remember that sometimes you can have rapport with somebody on the phone, and then when you meet in person, there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Dry toast.
Yeah. So it's tough in these dating streets, especially for a woman in her middle 50s, you know? So
Yeah.
I just kind of decided to pull over on the side of the road, you know? Yeah.
Well, as your sister, I would love for you to have that companion again because you choose it. Mm-hmm. But somebody to experience the fun and silly things in life with, someone of like mind and interest, because that can be very, very fulfilling to have that.
Right. And, the thing is, I mean, let's be honest. I have some smart kids. I can't bring somebody in the home not as smart as my kids.
Yeah, that would be a mistake.
Yeah.
Haley would run right over them.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh. I can see the side eye from Yaya right now.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So for me at this stage, I'm like, I have a sense of contentment and joy in where I am. And I'm not like walking on eggshells trying to do something to make some man happy or be something. And it feels pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, Candy. Well, I think pursue what is going to fill your heart. If there is an app, if there is a person, we're telling you to go for it. We're also telling you to be mindful and to watch out for red flags. We haven't
Make
even
good
talked
choices.
about
Oh my
red
gosh,
flags.
let's not start talking about predators.
Yeah.
As a child abuse doctor, I mean, how many times do women bring in men into the homes, and the men have their eye on the 10-year-old child,
Right.
or the 8-year-old son?
Yeah.
And then the woman is clueless as to what the motivations are. So, that's another reason why I don't want to get married is if I get married and like my yet to be born grandchildren get touched,
Yeah. Candy,
Yeah.
I think that's a legit topic for a whole other episode.
I know my brain always goes there.
I
though.
know. It's hard not to. It's hard not
Yeah.
to. So I think, our parting words on dating is do what feels right to you. Trust your instinct. Go out and find your happiness, but more importantly, find that happiness within yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And don't compromise.
No,
Don't do that.
no, absolutely not. So we want to thank you for joining us today on this episode, for listening to Soka yet again. We are always so happy to have you. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast so we can get our numbers up and we can push this out to more and more people.
And you know what? If you have any dating stories you want us to bring up, please send us an email to twosokapodcast@gmail.com. Maybe you can be a guest. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your journey. I think that would be fun.
Oh, that would be great if
Right.
if we had comments and stories that we could then share with our audience. Love that.
Now, we usually recommend a book or something, but I don't have any books to recommend for dating. Judy, do you?
No, I'm just going to go ahead and say trust yourself. Be aware of the pink flags that could eventually turn red.
Right.
And just do what makes you happy.
Right. And nobody else can make you. You have to be happy first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, if you've ever been in the dating world or are currently in it, please know we can relate.